On Friday evening, the 1st of March 1968, at the age of 68, Martyn Lloyd-Jones went into the pulpit, as usual, at Westminster Chapel, London, to preach on the letter to the Romans. It was his 372nd sermon in the Roman series, which he had begun 12.5 years earlier. He reached chapter 14, verse 17. Little did he know it that night, on the word peace, he was to conclude his 30 years of ministry. What he said so often of our short, uncertain earthly life and pilgrimage was so true, as he was diagnosed with a condition from which he was forced to retire. But in his abiding belief in the overruling providence of God, he was not discouraged by the sudden conclusion of his ministry at Westminster. So ended the preaching ministry of arguably the greatest preacher of the 20th century. Today I want to share briefly with you some insights gleaned from an article on Martyn Lloyd-Jones's response to World War II. In September 1939, Adolf Hitler invaded Poland and Britain declared war. 1 month later, Martyn Lloyd-Jones started his pastorate at Westminster Chapel. Within a month, he preached a series entitled, "Why Does God Allow War?" The thesis of the series was, any major, scary situation can become, for God's people, both a mirror to show us more of ourselves and a lens to show us more of God. Let's look at that briefly. 1. A mirror. In a time of crisis, a mirror reveals who we really are. Martyn Lloyd-Jones reveals 3 types of Christians to whom a crisis was a mirror. Firstly, nominal Christians. That is, those who have been raised in Christian homes all their lives. Now, when confronted by a massive crisis, they behaved and reacted in exactly the same way as those who had never believed. Their religion seemed to make no difference whatsoever. Secondly, intellectuals. Professing Christian intellectuals who had something missing. Religion was something to talk about, or argue about, or reason about, but it had never become a part of their inner actual experience. Thirdly, experiential types. Those who were passionate about God. They had a deep sense of God's presence, but they didn't have a theological basis for their beliefs. When things were good, they were good. But now they fell into a sense of turmoil as they emphasized God's love and God's forgiveness over his other attributes. So they just couldn't understand how a good God could allow hardships. 2. A lens. In a time of crisis, a lens reveals what God is really like. A lens helps us to see and to savor more of God himself. Times of crisis demonstrate our weakness and our helplessness and drive us to God in dependence. They provide an opportunity to look afresh at God. They focus us with new urgency on God's beauty and on God's majesty. Yes, theology is important. The more we know about God, the more we trust the comfort of God. God is sovereign. We need to rest in that truth. God is refining us. God is pruning us for greater fruitfulness. Let's follow Martyn Lloyd-Jones's advice and use any crisis as a mirror to see ourselves more clearly, and let's use it as a lens to see a wise, sovereign God who controls all things.